But because it is connatural for man to receive knowledge through the senses, and it is very difficult to transcend the sensible, it has been provided by God for man to be reminded of the divine even in sensible things, so that by this means man's intention may be recalled more to the divine, even to him whose mind is not strong to the divine, to be contemplated in itself. And for this reason, sensible sacrifices were instituted, which man offers to God, not because God needs them, but to represent to man that he must refer both himself and all his things to him as to the end, and as to the Creator, Governor, and Lord of the universe. Certain sanctifications are also applied to man by means of certain sensible things, with which a man is washed or anointed or fed or drunk with the utterance of sensible words, so that the process of intelligible gifts may be represented to man by sensible intelligible gifts from without, and by God, whose name is expressed by sensible words. Certain sensible works are also practiced by men, not by which they excite God, but by which they challenge themselves in the divine, such as prostrations, kneeling, vocal cries, and singing. These things are not done as if God needed them, who knows all things, and whose will is unchangeable, and accepts the affection of the mind, not the movement of the body for its own sake, but we do them for our own sake, so that through these sensible works our attention may be directed to God, and our affection may be kindled. At the same time, through these things, we confess that God is the author of our soul and body, to whom we offer both spiritual and corporal obedience. For this reason it is not surprising if the heretics who deny that God is the author of our bodies criticize such bodily submissions to God, in which it also appears that they do not remember that they are men, while they do not judge the representation of sensible things to be necessary for their inner knowledge and affection. For it appears by experiment that through bodily actions the soul is roused to some thought or affection. Hence it is clear that it is fitting that we also use certain bodily things for the elevation of our mind to God. And the worship of God is said to consist in these bodily offerings to God, for we are said to worship those whom we employ by our works. Now we apply our study to God in our actions, not so that we may advance to Him, as we are told to worship other things by our works, but because by such acts we advance to God. And since we aim directly at God through interior acts, we properly worship God with interior acts. However, external acts also belong to the worship of God, inasmuch as through such acts our mind is elevated to God, as has been said. From this also the worship of God is called religion, because by acts of this kind man binds himself in a certain way, so that he may not stray from it, and because he also feels bound by a certain natural instinct to pay reverence to God in his own way, from whom is his being and the source of all good. This is also why religion also takes the name of piety, for it is piety by which we pay the honor due to our parents. Hence it seems fitting that honor should be offered to God, the parent of all, as piety. For this reason those who are opposed to those things that pertain to the worship of God are called impious, because God is not only the cause and principle of our being, but our whole being is in His power, and all that is in us we owe to ourselves, and by this means He is truly our master. That which we offer in honor of God is called service. But God is Lord not by accident, as man is man, but by nature. And therefore service is owed differently to God, and differently to man, to whom we submit by accident, and who has some particular dominion over things and derived from God. Hence the service which is due to God is specially called among the Greeks latria,